All right, here we are. Kamandi, the last boy on Earth, issue number 7. How you doing, Jake?
Pretty good. Hey, Kurt. We are moving through. We're on the back end of the first 10 issues, and this one's great. It has a giant ape hand, and Commandy's being scooped up like a little Fay Ray, and you even got the little biplanes
Yeah,
in the
that is
background.
so
So this is
cool.
obvious. Yeah, this is obviously an homage to King
Yep.
Kong, at least on the
Yep.
cover, and I can't wait to
Yeah,
dig
yeah,
in.
yeah. So this is the world of Kamandi, the last boy on Earth, and we just finished recording episode 32, where we had kind of come to a intersection at the end of the episode where we were talking about maybe taking that next episode 33 into world building. So let's see what comes about and what they tell us more about the world of Kamandi.
Righto. Um, I noticed that they have this like little text blurb up at the
Yeah.
top,
That
and
nobody
it's
reads.
pretty much
Nobody reads
that nobody reads, right, except
it.
me. And we see that it's really the same as it was in the last couple of issues. Not too much change. Tigers, lions, and gorillas are in the seats of power, and humans are the beasts of burden. So everything's flipped on its ear. We're seeing a four-gun salute, and a sign that says "Here lies Flower." So, I guess when we last left off, we weren't sure if Flower was really gone for good, and whether she was bleeding or whether it was
Yeah.
just, some kind of like hard to determine imagery. But she's dead.
Yeah, we've been noticing
She's
that
in the
the
ground.
endings to the stories are a little dashed out. They get not as much predominance in page, it's these half page and smaller things. So maybe there'll be something that changes for us.
Yeah, and I was reading, I'm reading this great book called Stuff Said. I'm only at the beginning, but it's giving some great clues and insights um, to Jack Kirby's workflow. He was doing 3 comics a month for a long period of time, and then there was like some famous point where he dropped Captain America, and so he was just doing like the Avengers and Thor, or Fantastic Four and Thor, um, and like that really eased his burden, but it also reduced his income. When we get to 1973 here, I don't know how many books he was doing a month, but he was cranking them out because this is even a faster style than he was using back
Yeah.
then. And but still a good style. We keep saying that this faster style is more
Yep.
stylized, kind of cooler.
Artsy,
Although we might have not
very
approved.
artsy.
Yeah, artsy. Well, I say stylized, but it's just like more Kirby-esque, and we might have not really appreciated it at the time, although we do now. We turn the page, and boom, a big double page spread. Not too much action here as we've seen in previous pages, but a really good look at the Lion Men, and the designs, the Kirby swashes in their uniforms, the rocks, the ground, the tree, just like everything is Kirbyized. And this one is really just a kind of an homage to Commandy's sadness at losing his companion, or maybe we should just say potential companion,
It's now a
because they had
tragic
just
romance story, a tragic post-apocalyptic romance story.
right, and they're trying to explain that it's just an animal that died, and no, they have to respect Commandy because he's in grief, and he's a very intelligent and sensitive animal.
Cool.
This young
I love
animal.
it.
They reiterate that Kamandi was raised in an underground bunker complex, and that now he's exploring outside the state of Nevada. He has gained the friendship of these lions,
Who?
and they're protecting him, and they're treating him as an endangered species. So
It's
that's just kind of like the
yeah, it's
setup
kind of like a
from previous
surrogate
issues where
to
we're at.
Ben Boxer and his boys. So he's picked up older male leadership role models. But now these are lions,
Right.
they're not humans, but they're playing all the
These are lions,
human
but
characteristics.
hmm and yeah, it's kind of cool to see them all there. Like the five of them. There's like kind of like an order and repetition of having them there. But Kirby is not one to stand around and dither for too
Here we
long.
turn.
So on the next page, we have some action happening here when suddenly
It's
from behind a
awesome.
cluster of
It's so
rocks,
awesome.
a shock grenade is tossed. Kamandi's finely tuned senses are noticing it, and he actually
That's
catches it,
awesome. Damn.
and all in one motion throws it right back from whence it came. And we have a big pow, a big blast panel. Right away, we're in the action, and already 5 pages in, we're on chapter two. No, only four
Four.
pages this
Yeah.
time. We're on chapter two, where we see that it is a gorilla who is now disabled. And I want to call attention to these beautiful letters
Yeah.
where it says the monster fetish. We see them a little bit on the opening page where it says Kamandi, but this is an exercise I do with my students, or I should do more. But I tell them, draw some letters, and then let's take like a marker or an ink brush or something, and let's make the letters thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker until they're just about to touch the next
Ooh.
letter and then stop.
Ooh.
Right? So that I call them like crowded in
Yeah.
letters. And the exercise I do is like I forget what it says, but it's like some expression like expanding but don't touch. I love this letter style, and with Kirby, it's just like he just wants to fill space, right? He wants to take maximum space up with these letters to make it a giant headline. And he invented these letters. They're used in all of his comics, and I think everybody should learn how to do these
I
letters.
agree. I agree.
Yeah. And so we might point these out from time to time.
Well, it's
He
also,
uses
we
them,
have
and
discussed the integration of type text into comic books. Comic books definably are word and picture. So this is, the POW to this is just as relevant to this, from this, so on and so forth. So, and it's an underrated skill that's not applied in modern comics right now.
no, Kirby invented this
Mm,
font or this
mm,
style. It's not a particular font because the
no.
letters are different, but um,
Yeah, and either Royer fills it
it's
in or an anchor, but there is no. Let me see something real quick.
no, I'm sure it's
I
Kirby's
know, because
hand,
Royer is the letterer too. So, oh,
he's the letter, but this is definitely a
oh,
Kirby
sure, sure, sure,
thing.
sure.
These
No, I'm
these
not
letters,
taking
I've been
thunder
I've been
from Kirby.
following them for a long
No, I'm
time.
not taking thunder,
Yeah,
but
and
Royer gives it that sign off there.
yeah, he's inking it. He's probably shaping them, and he's probably being careful to make sure they don't touch, and all that. But this is 1973. People should know. I'm an art teacher, so here I go. But um, 1973, New York City is starting to see the advent of graffiti all over the place,
Yeah.
and it hadn't yet evolved yet to the evolved kind of like wild style abstracted graffiti that it was going to be probably around the
Hmm.
80s, early 80s. But it was like this new visual language that was appearing all over the place. And I would say maybe it's the other way around, where the graffiti kids were looking at these Kirby letters and seeing how it's kind of calligraphic, it's kind of abstracted, it's clearly meant to take up a lot of space. And you know, if I could be a little critical again of Kirby, these headlines take up a good third of a page every couple of
Yeah, yeah,
pages,
yeah.
to make his job go along
Yep.
quicker. Um, but I study these letters, and I do my own version of them all the
Yep.
time. Like if it's space taking upper letters style, so be it. Let's
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
these. I
yeah.
love this. It makes it look like a poster. Um, the other thing I'll say about his sound effects, which we can see on story page 4 here, is that and I noticed this in the last couple of issues. It's like pow and boom. He isn't really getting into like the kersplatkities and the shakaos and the the he isn't really going with the phonetic onomatopoeia kind of like sound effects. It's really just his pow is really the go-to, and bam and stuff like that. So let's see, as he progresses, if he changes that up a little and gets a little bit more, because it can be very helpful to the story if the sound effect is more accurate to what the actual sound is,
Kerplow.
right? Right, like if you have a giant, engine of a machine dropping out and slamming on the floor, it's not going to go pow, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to go biff. So it's gonna
Well,
whatever
here's
it's
one
gonna
over
do.
here.
It's
I
it's gonna
just
be
turned, but here it says scoosh, but it's like two
there.
K's,
You go.
two K's, two H's, and
Right, that's what I'm
like
talking
it's a
about.
mortar,
Right,
a mortar. The
right.
gorilla
Scush,
scoosh.
scoosh.
So
Right there you go.
so
So
fun
yeah,
to
here
say.
here in the story, they so here in the story they find the gorilla. They find his horse. Kamandi gets his horse
And a
now,
pistol.
inherits his horse and a gun. They're riding, and Kamandi's out on his own now. I think did they let him go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wait, they mentioned a fetish. Do you think the gorillas have a large force here? It looks like it's a raiding group, a ritual
Well,
raiding group. They've come to free
this guy who
Tiny.
threw the grenade back was a scout. So yeah, we're talking about a bigger
Yeah,
gang.
but there's some dialogue here which is laying the ground for the plot. It says they're a ritual raiding group that have come to free Tiny, and we don't know who
Yeah.
Tiny is, but they say they'll stop at nothing to get Tiny. He's kind of a fetish to them. And that's the chapter title we just saw, the monster
Yep.
fetish. I am guessing that Tiny is might be the guy that we saw on the
Yeah, he's
cover,
King Kong.
but
Yeah.
that's just me. Um, so Kamandi sets out on his horse, and then yes, he's riding along these kind of like Nevada plains, and he is
He's
scooshed
scooshed.
with a mortar. They fire it directly above his head, so he's just concussed. Sleep gas. We'll do it every time, they say. How come he's riding one of our horses? Never mind, we can use him as a sacrifice in the
Dun
ritual.
dun
So
dun.
here, yeah, so here we see this is straight out of King
Hmm.
Kong, the movie, the classic movie. I think it was the late 20s,
Yep.
right? A black and white
Yep.
movie where a sacrifice is put up on the altar to attract the giant ape Kong on Skull
Yep.
Island, right? And Kamandi is just kind of dropped into that kind of a plot. They're dancing around him. Really, really good motion here with the little shaky lines. They call upon the god, show yourself, and here comes the shaman who's dressed in robes, ceremonial robes. It is before you, great fetish, come forth and see. Jumping catfish, these yowling apes are referring to me. Come join your brothers who are cast in your image. So they're taking some, some borrowing some cues from scripture. We see some big wombs, and Commander's making a cringy face as something pretty big approaches. We see the shadow first, roar, roar, and Commander is here nailed to this post, and then we see the hand. And finally, we see the beast here on story page 9. Tiny can't reach, Tiny angry. What you bring, what this thing? So he talks like Hulk. Um, he is a giant beast, and Command is saying, help, help. Moving along, story page 10. Even in panic, the truth dawns on Kamandi. A giant ape kept in a canyon sanctuary by dutiful lion rangers. This is the monster, affectionately called Tiny. Join us, Fetish, join your brothers. And the monster is saying, go away, stop noise. Kamandi is marveling. He's over 100 feet tall, and he's trying to smash the canyon that is containing him, but finds out that's electrified, and that's how the lions control him.
No, these are
And
apes.
talk
These are
about
apes.
yeah, well, they say the lions are controlling him, so I guess he is a captive of the lions, and the apes are coming to try to lure him
I
out,
see. I
and they're
see.
fetishizing him.
Oh.
Um, Talking about great sound effects, we have Saskatch,
Oh.
Saskatch, where the ape is getting electrified, and Kamandi says, "Good Lord, if ever the electric power ever failed." The apes are saying, it's time, clear the area. We're going to destroy the power units. They take dynamite to them and they blow them up. So I'm apologizing now to the Kirby estate because these sound effects are getting very inventive with a giant vahoom. Vahoom!
Nice.
They've disabled the power, and so now the giant fetish is free. He's coming out. Go away, Tiny, kill you all. Uh, the fetish has gone mad, and here
That's great.
in a silent panel, we see him bearing down on Kamandi as if he's going to eat him. I know we're moving through kind of
It's all
quick,
right.
but story page 12. Tiny just want this toy. Why does toy scream? Let me go. Um, and so now he is clutching Kamandi just like the famous Fay Ray scene. A rifle bullet strikes the giant, and it is the apes. Fool, that shot only served to increase the anger of the great fetish. It was meant to. He'll move against his lion oppressors, and now we shall move in when he smashes them. I hope you're right. Here he comes. And look out, he's trying to stamp on our own troops. Can't he see that we're brothers? The fetish has turned on us. He's destroying everything in his path. Yow! Okay. Now I'm at the double page spread here. I have a giant 2-page ad for skeleton toys that move an arm when you press a button from Walt Disney's famous production. I don't know which one. Oh, the Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, it's a 3-page ad. Oh, 4-page ad
Whoa.
from NPC Toys. You're very lucky that you don't have to deal with
Wow.
this. um, Back to story page 13, which is going to bring us to the end of chapter 2. Tiny not give back toy. Go home, noisy ones. And he smashes the Jeep. You overgrown ignoramus, can't you hear? I said put me down. Toy speak. This toy good. I'll make you listen. And he socks him in the nose. Uh-oh, he may have gone too far. And toy hit Tiny? Toy not like Tiny? Certainly, Tiny, I like you, but you're hurting me. Tiny not hurt you. Tiny like hear toy speak. Maybe toy sing. Come, toy, sing. Right. So this is the classic thing where the ape is amused by the small person. So this is a pretty long chapter too for Kirby. I think
9?
he's changing up his
Yeah.
page count,
Yeah.
right?
It's what moves him.
Right. He usually would do like 5 pages, but here he had 4, and then chapter 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Hmm.
9, and yeah, 9
Hmm.
pages. So here we go to chapter 3, story page 14. Um, and we see that the ape is recoiling. Something hit Tiny in back. Tiny sick. So something is happening here, and Kamandi says, "What luck! He placed me on this outcropping so I wouldn't fall with him." And it looks like he's going to already be taken out. No sooner do we meet him. Uh, and who's the one that got him? Well, it's the lions with their advanced machinery. They have this huge tank that we can see. He's evidently been shot with some high-powered chemical shell, and so he's incapacitated. The lions are waving. I hope he didn't hurt you. No, he didn't, but he almost frightened me to death. So it's Sultan again, the leader of the lions. Um, he says that they took out the guerrillas fan club, that they left the territory. And No sooner than this, the giant ape is wakening. No, take Toy. Look at Tiny. He may be down, but he's not completely out. We hit him with an 80-pound tranquilizer shell. He'll simmer down. So now they're going to anchor him to the flat car. Your rangers seem to know how to handle the situation. Is that why you're leaving, Sultan? He goes, I've been called into a staff meeting in the city. Come along, Kamandi. I don't have to explain my affairs to a mascot. So they speed away to the new capital. And now they're in this like cityfied realm, some like apartment terrace high above the teeming streets. And Kamandi is marveling. Skyscrapers, factories, a metropolis worthy of any city I've seen. Um, it's not like we're getting a double-page spread here. We just get a panel that shows us some intact buildings.
Yeah.
But they're nice, and I'm impressed by your city, Sultan. It was built by my ancestors, the founding lions, who came from Washington Zoo, the fabled land of United States. There was New York Zoo, Chicago Zoo, and also Philadelphia Zoo. These places perished in the Great Disaster, but the founding lions broke out of zoo in time. They migrated to this new territory and prospered. And they have a Declaration of Independence, and above all, the flag of the United States of Lions and the Medal of Honor, which he's showing off. So here is actually a little bit of standing around talking, but we can begrudge Kirby one page of that. He's trying to, lay out this backstory. All of a sudden, it sounds like sounds, sirens, shouts, panic in the streets. There's a booming sound getting louder, closer. This can't be what I think it is. Ah! And all of a sudden, crashing through the wall, it's Tiny. He's got me. Sultan, do something. He's taking me with me. Blast! I can't get a decent shot at him.
Like, get him right between the
Hold
eyes.
on, Commander. I'll get help. I also want to point out, Commandy's. How come he's got fingernails some of the time, but some of the time
Where do you see the
no?
fingernails?
So on the upper right corner of story page 17.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It might just be
Royer thing.
maybe he didn't draw them in. So this is where we're getting to our climactic King Kong
Wow.
scene,
I mean, this is all.
and he's climbing the buildings, and me own you again. Put out lights, you blind Tiny. Tiny climb higher. Me get away from you. You notice that Tiny's got bigger text than everybody
Yeah,
else.
pretty
Like,
cool.
he's got this big booming
Yeah,
voice.
that's the way to do
At
it.
that moment, in a ranger state. So yeah, they're kind of organizing these planes to fly and scramble up in the air. He says, "Get those new machines in the air. Only you two know how to fly them. But those are experimental machines. We built them from ancient photographs and designs. Don't argue. Let's just do it." So they get up in the sky with these little biplanes just to complete
Dressed as
our King Kong
astronauts. It's just so
analogy,
goddamn cool. Ugh.
right? We're airborne. Let's hope these machines don't fail us in our mission. Nothing that serves the United States of Lions can fail. Meanwhile, on the top floor of the apartment building, Sultan moves to help Kamandi in his plight. That ape is still out there and climbing to the spire on the roof. Come down, Tiny. I promise you won't be harassed. No, you take Tiny's toy. This Tiny's toy. I like toy. Come for you. You come for toy, I kill you. And Kamandi is saying, Sultan, he means that he can stamp you out like a flea.
Mm.
All of a sudden, rat-tat-tat-tat. What those? You see these little biplanes? Stay here, toy. So this is just like the movie. You sting Tiny. You hurt him. And now we see Sultan is trying to reach for Kamandi. This is just like the movie. Once they've released the pet, they start shooting him, and he falls. And it's the end of poor Tiny. He played one game that was too dangerous, even for him. He had to be destroyed. Too bad. I bet this was the wildest experience anyone ever had. It's been incredible at that. Even the ancients, with their imaginative movies, couldn't have produced anything like this. Kamandi may be right. And next issue, the return of Ben Boxer in beautiful Kirby-ish letters in green, and we see what the letters look like when they're outlined. Love those letters.
So can I ask a question real
So he,
quick?
yeah, go
The,
ahead.
so that 4-page ad, that's
Hmm.
obviously it's one sheet of paper in the middle stapled, right?
Yep.
So do you think that reduced the page count of the story? Because like, are we always getting 20 pages? See, this is a 22 and a half page story was before. So he just, I don't know, like it sounds like he might have just uh, made this story to accommodate a larger ad count pages over his storytelling because there's so many opportunities where he could have put at least some half page stuff where he's showing the city like this should have done, or at least 2 panels to just show the craziness of how big this city was. And then this is just
Yeah.
missing. There's just opportunities, but he's down to a 20-page count on this story.
Yeah, well, this one, it seems like he was really cranking fast.
Yeah.
I mean, he just plugs into the King Kong movie, and that,
Yeah.
gives him the storyline and the ending. It's a total of 20 story pages, which
Yeah.
might be a page or two less than he usually does.
Definitely two.
I think I counted 21 on previous. Um, after that's over, we have a two-page letters column with some random panels from previous comics just stuck in there and colorized. All of these letters would have fit on one page otherwise. We
Yeah.
see a giant ad, and then we see some just blank space here. I don't know. I have my camera on if you want to take some shots of this, but then
I.
on the back page, it's behind the scenes at DC Comic World, and they're talking about the Junior Bullpen Project.
Hmm,
So I guess DC is using the same terminology as Marvel, talking about bullpens. They have artists Carmine Infantino, Joe Orlando, Joe Kubert, Vince Coletta, um, Julie Schwartz, Bob Kanigher, Murray Boltinoff. So yeah, just a lot of filler here. We have lots of ads. A 4-page ad from Disney, probably good money. They were selling these new Pirates of the Caribbean toys. I don't know if you remember them, but I think they're
yeah.
models that you put together with the glue, and then there's some little like lever thing that you press so that the thing is on a spring and it goes up and down like the
Yeah.
I'm showing it here, like the arm moves or a skeleton pops out of a coffin.
Yeah.
Um, and the Pirates of the Caribbean was a always a big display at Disney World, and of course later on they
One of
get
my
Johnny Depp
favorites.
to bring the franchise back to life with Johnny Depp and Keith Richards, right?
Yeah. The
But yeah.
well, the thing I just wanted to jump on is that the thing I think Kirby takes as an opportunity is to deepen the relationship Kamandi has with you know, the
Sultan.
United States of Lions, because
Oh
here we
yeah,
have this, this Mount Rushmore. This is cover 8, issue 8, and everything, and so Commander's getting chased and everything. But I don't want to say that he slacked or he Kirby backed out, of the Commandy story, but we definitely didn't get. I don't know. It's subjective to say that we got a deeper look into the world because we are just going along. But it moves so like that alone. When we got to this, I mean, we go from here to here in 2 pages.
yeah.
I mean, he gets
Can you
done
still
like a
hear me?
horse in it today. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you, but I'm
Okay.
getting a message that says input unavailable. I don't know what that means. We do
Uh-oh.
need to wrap up because we're at
Yeah,
time,
yep,
but
yep, 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 yep.
but yeah, to me this was really Kirby taking the Planet of the Apes movie, making the series, and then plugging in the King Kong movie into within it. There's
Yeah,
no real explanation of how, a giant ape, was grown at or mutated or whatever was created. There's did he have a mother? Did he have a father? So it's just something that was there. And then he makes this kind of like tongue-in-cheek uh, jest at the end that's even the ancients with their imaginative movies couldn't have produced anything like this. So he did. That's basically kind of like a kitschy way of saying, yeah, I just lifted the whole King Kong storyline.
That's great.
But definitely a good example of Kirby's eye candy style. A lot of the things that we've been talking about, the Kirby dots, the black and white interplay. Um, on a particular page, you can see the kind of like story page 11. You can see this kind of like Sumio designs on the back of the ape. Where it's just like Kirby wants to put some darkness, but there's no real rhyme or reason to it. So it's just like blots, interesting blots. You know, very interesting looking
Well, then
stuff. And then
I've heard like basically back in the day that issue 8 was where you would get either the cancel call or the full steam ahead. So maybe this issue was like well, I don't know. They've given me less pages, and there's a good chance that I might not be working on this book. So, uh,
yeah. I mean,
so it's going to be really interesting to see if there's a bigger trajectory on issue 8. Like we really get back into the story and the world
yeah,
of Kamandi.
and my book here, stuff said, explains a little bit of the ebb and flow of Kirby's work for when he was at Marvel. He says that he would be making this stuff 3 to 4 months in advance.
Yeah.
They wanted his stuff like done way, way, way ahead of time.
Yep.
Because there was always like adding dialogue, and then sometimes if he would be inking his own stuff, or if artists would be inking their own stuff, they would ink it after the dialogue was added. Interestingly, but it said that sometimes he would just do 2 issues in a row or 3 issues in a row of one series. It depends if the inker was backed up or if the inker needed work right away. Stan would say, okay, switch over to FF, switch over to X-Men. Here's where we need you now. And Kirby used to come in every 2 weeks to get his work assignments and drop off pages. And this is how it worked at Marvel. So I'm learning a lot from this book. I'm going to have a lot more updates about this as everybody gives their side of the story as to who created what in the great argument, between Stan and Jack and Marvel. So we'll have a lot more about that. But they really meticulously collected clues about what was created when and how the workflow worked. I don't think we get too much DC stuff here, but it definitely shows how Kirby knocked these things out so quick. And they basically say that he did 3 pages a day.
Yeah.
Of pencils, yeah. So that's interesting to know.
So, all right. Well, we're moving along. We're doing first 20 issues of Kamandi, Last Boy on Earth, based on this collection I have secured for us. So thanks again for joining us. This is breakout content. We're also doing a video podcast, in sharing our process of making our comic book our way, called Turbo Pit Fighter. So you got anything else to add, Jake?
No, people, if you like this content, check out the making of Turbo Pit Fighter. It's in production. It's going to be a 6-episode graphic novel. We're working on issues 1 and 2 concurrently. We got the inks and the pencils going, and we sit around and talk about stuff like this and much more. So switch over to that content if you like this content. If not, we'll see you back here for the next issue of Kamandi.
Cool. All right. Can't wait till next week. Jake, see you later.
All right, Kurt. Take care, my friend.
Later.